Team LP, Impact. Splice, TY.
What's so funny, Artos?
Nothing tasteless.
Okay. Just checking.
Oh my God.
Sometimes I like to mess with you in between these player intros.
No. Oh my God.
So,
CC first against Hatch first. So he's safe.
yeah.
Right? If it was Pool first, he definitely could be in some trouble, but
I wonder if there's like a whole strategy that TY could have since he's casting, where he just sort of says his things that aren't true in the cast to kind of throw off the people that are watching, the other players that are watching. Thinking,
Oh
oh,
my
TY
God.
thinks this is good, so I'm going to play like this.
yeah.
Like maybe he said, you never want to go for fast CC anymore, and then here he is doing it.
Yeah.
Probably not what happened, but
And he's got to
It's a
use
thought.
up. He's got to use up that cred while he can, because pros still respect him. But after you're a caster long enough, they
Yeah.
mute you. So,
they learn to play with that and or watch for that and he sounds on.
But you know, this makes some sense. I think against Impact, it's a little bit more of a gamble, but it's something that we've spoken about a little bit with Nexus first and CC first. We never see either, but we should see some amount. It should not go to 0. Because when it goes to 0, you're not ever forcing the Zerg to make hard decisions in that area, right? Like pool first builds are, it's like, yeah, I mean, you can go pool first, but then they have like a Reaper and like they're fine, you know?
Yeah, and you're just in a very difficult game from there because you made a decision.
But I mean, there's some ways to make them work. They're not that common, and when they are not that common because they're not that strong, you should force them to become a little bit common by doing things like mixing in these CC first builds. So it's a smart type of move.
One other little factor here is
he started a third CC already.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Hold on. No, that is TY.
Yep.
I thought I was going to turn around and it was going to be Supernova. I was pretty certain that this must be Supernova to be going 3 command centers off of no units. Now let's see if he puts the 4th command center down, because then he'll rip off his face and be Supernova underneath.
You know, it's funny. Impact is known for being kind of aggro, so the fact that he's
Wait, no,
doing
that was
this
4GG that did that, not Supernova.
yeah, that was
I'm
4GG. But it
Thanks,
was.
Faceless. Thanks for that. Acting like you knew it was 4GG while I was saying that.
I let you wear it, man.
Yeah.
So we have TY kind of not playing like himself at all. You know, which can be a little bit scary, especially against somebody like Impact. Yeah, who's known to try to get in there and kind of go for the jugular right away.
You know what he should do here? He should just go right into PC. Just screw it. Just 3 command centers and battlecruiser.
And I'm waiting to see what the big plan is here from Impact.
Yeah,
He's throwing down those Evo chambers.
I mean, what has he actually scouted so far? A little bit. Yeah, and he is going directly into BC. I've never actually seen anything this greedy my whole life, I think, except for 4GG's builds.
This is a real curveball.
3 command centers off of no units into BC.
Now, TY is still staying on the edges here with his Hellions, poking around. By the way, a real quick thing, guys, if you're wondering, you know, since TY's been casting this season, who's casting now, we actually have Sue here. So Sue decided to take one for the team and come down to the studio today to cast so TY could compete. So we do appreciate it. I'm curious to hear how Sue did.
Oh, I'm sure he'll do great. That guy is...
I think he's more of a natural.
He's got such personality.
Yeah,
seriously.
charisma and stuff, so it's going to be fun to see how he does here. So there's that BC Artosis was talking about.
Look at the armory behind. That's interesting that he's instantly going armory. Like, is he going to do a Hellbat BC push? I've never heard or seen that, but Banshee Hellbat is a real thing, so why not BC Hellbat?
Do you think the way that TY's playing this is in part because he's been casting a lot, so maybe he hasn't had the same kind of time? Or he's going to try something novel?
He's taking a little bit of a risk here.
A bit of a risk.
The amount that this sets the tone for the match can't be understated. If I'm Impact and I lose this in game 1, I'm just like, what? Am I supposed to rush these other games? And the other games are, I didn't check the map pool, but maybe it's like Thunderbird and King's Cove, where it's like rushing is even worse.
Okay, here comes the Hellbats.
This is going to be hilarious when the BC warps on top of this stuff.
Okay, Queens are backing up, trying to get a nice arc here. Waiting for some more units to hatch out here. The Lings are coming. The drones have been pulled.
Oh
And there's the
God.
BC in the main.
Yeah, and all the Queens are down here. And the BC is just going to go to town.
And the drones were just pulled out of that spot over there. So now they're not even going to any mineral patch here because there's nowhere safe for them to be. But how good is this actually, though?
Well, I would say that, okay, so
It's
the
surprising,
opening is
but-
a strategic risk, but tactically this is a really brilliant move that we haven't seen yet. We have not seen this. Hellbats, because you always pull all your queens to deal with it because it's super dangerous. And then you warp a BC in because you know that all the queens are there.
Yeah.
Right? So you need 3 queens and your spore to get rid of a BC.
Yeah.
But if all the queens are there, look at the amount of drones that he's killed. 13 drones? It's ridiculous. That did amazingly.
Okay, nice counterattack here, though, from Impact. Keep in mind, most of the Hellions, were lost in that fight over there. So Lings beginning to spill in here with some Banelings could become a huge problem.
Yeah, the Banelings could bust down that depot wall as well. Doing a lot of damage over here at this third. He's trying to take out some of these Banelings. He actually lets them in, which I think is a really smart move.
Oh my god!
Because that means he can close the door.
Yeah, lock out anything.
Yeah. So, like, if this continued, he could raise the depots, or if you leave the depots, they break them down immediately. Yeah, now the BCs come back and defend. He loses the same amount of SCVs as drones he killed.
We've already had so many interesting games here tonight.
Yeah. This is a very cool one. A very cool game. And he's going into mech behind this. With the Spire coming up, I think we're just going to see a group of Corruptors come out and no anti-air for TY. So I'm a little bit worried for him in that regard.
Yeah, it really is a balancing act if we're trying to do something like what TY is up to here. Okay, the Banelings are going to come. An odd moment, they're just going to be crashing into these Hellbats here. 7 Mutas are on the way.
Mutas, okay.
Yeah, not Corruptors this time, but Mutas instead. Now the Lings are continuing to streamline out here. There's just one thing about when you go for like BCs, and you'll see this like in StarCraft 1 when someone rushes the carriers, is there's this whole fundamental problem of they can't be in everywhere at once, right? Broodlords is another good example. So sure, these BCs are a real threat here, but you can't really defend everything, and so we see this third constantly losing workers here for TY. And by the way, as far as workers go, it's 81 for Impact and 59 for TY.
Yeah, he's really drawn up beautifully at this point, hasn't he?
TY now going to his 4th battlecruiser as well.
Yeah, the battlecruisers are going to have to defend against the Mutas, which they can do reasonably well. Might try to jump on this really injured one. Uh-oh. It didn't work.
Yeah, this is...
Yeah, interesting. We saw Scarlet try this against a very similar strategy, and it kind of had similar results where not a lot was done. The spread of BCs seems to be able to hold this off reasonably well. But, you don't get an eBay with this build, so you don't have turrets or anything like that.
Yeah, good point. So you're having to rely on mobile defense. And that's why Ling Muta can be a threat in some ways. But
well, I kind of like the idea of it. But, yeah, I don't know. I talked to Scarlet after it, and she said that it wasn't very good against mech. But, yeah. I still feel like Impact is playing really well here, like, overall. He's got over 80 drones. He's got the 4 bases. His creep spread is not fantastic. His queens have been harassed a lot, so I'm going to give him a slight buy on that.
Do you think he's just going to try to flood the third here? He has so many more Lings coming out.
I think keeping this pressure up is pretty neat, but the one person who's going to always get his SCV count back up is definitely TY. This guy makes more SCVs than any other Terran.
Muta's now going into the main here. We do have the eBay finally up, so there are turrets here, but certainly not enough turrets. Oh, I spoke too soon.
Yeah, repairing that very well.
Repair is a good ability to have.
My God, the Thor coming in. Picking off the SCVs, though. Doesn't care so much about the turret. And look, he is stifling the economy here. Look at that, non-stop Lings coming in. The Hellions actually get into a beautiful position here.
Yeah, it's important to note that a lot of the Hellions were killed off, throughout a lot of these attacks here. So if he gets more and more Lings and keeps hitting areas, he might be able to keep doing even more damage. Flyer attack +1 is about to finish here. Now, there are Corruptors coming into play here, finally.
Yeah, and still some Mutas as well, which is interesting.
Well, you know,
I don't know. I
I
really
guess-
like how Impact's playing.
Here's what I'm thinking is, you know, if you, with all the Corruptors and the Mutas, you kill the BCs, all you have to kill then is the Thors on the ground. And Lings
Yeah.
are going to be great against that. And then if you win there, then you're basically just going to win the game because you have the air dominance. And it's so easy to mass produce.
With this type of economy, I guess you're kind of right. Like, if you go Ling Bane, you might be able to just, like, kill those Thors like your Nesty or something. You know, just roll so much into it. You're like, yeah, my economy's huge. Get out of here.
It is crazy how abusive you can get with these battle cruisers because you warp them away and then you can immediately repair them, you know, and you're basically not losing anything in that moment if that happens. So,
I tell you, Recall is getting nerfed, but we have these BCs each with their own jump function. It's crazy stuff, Tasteless.
It's true.
This time we live in.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, he's going to get that kill.
Okay, nice snipe there.
Yeah,
Every
that was
battle
nice.
cruiser is so precious in this build. I mean, you really don't want to lose any of them.
I think this switch into Hydras is really quite brilliant as well. The Hydras kind of do well against absolutely everything that's being made right now.
Right.
It really feels like even though TY did much more powerful build, more powerful plays early on, Impact is almost dictating the way that this game is likely to end up going.
He's had really good instinct this game.
Feels that way, right? Even though it's like kind of questionable strategic choices in some ways with the Mutas.
Yeah, well, I guarantee you he didn't expect to have a game that was going to look like this.
I don't think so.
Coming into this, so...
Oh no, the Muta flank is no good.
Uh-oh. And here come the Corruptors as well, starting to hit all those BCs. Looks like they're going to try to Yamato down as many as they can.
Yeah, actually, that one gets away with like no health left.
Oh my god, TY's
like,
so good.
Yeah. This is such a cool game.
It's weird because he did win the air dominance fight, but now there's so many Thors here, not a particularly large amount of Lings, at least just yet. But I mean, Hellions and Hellbats versus Thors, I mean, they can kind of take on, you know, the Lings, especially if they get the right angling of their shots.
Well, we have some Banelings coming in to help deal with those Hellbats a little bit. Maybe the Hydras can eventually break through these Thors. Not so sure, though. I mean, Thors are doing a good job, aren't they?
Yeah, looks like two are about to go down, though. Oh, I spoke too soon. Just one. There is one very much so in the red.
Yeah. The Blue Flame Hellions get on the drones is a brutal thing. That's the advantage of Impact is he's had a lot of drones for a long time.
Yeah.
But if you can't muster the army to kill this...
Oh, no, he's like not doing anything with those Corruptors. Okay, I'm getting a little bit worried here. If he breaks this hatchery here, he's got a lot of different areas he can then try to attack in as the follow-up. So, I love this, bringing SCVs down here.
Yeah.
He knows Repair is going to bring him to victory.
Yeah, Repair is just huge right here, especially with some of these damaged Thors that you've been working on.
Now okay, that's what's going on. I was going to say something's happening back over at the Natural, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to save this game. Impact is going to try to come down with more of these Hydras here. But the Hydras are a decent fight against these Thors.
Yeah, it looks like he'll finally end up clearing this out. He lost a hatchery and about 14 drones during all this, and he had to spend a hell of a lot of army to clean it up.
This is a super scrappy game here.
Yeah.
Notice how he's saving the Banelings too. He doesn't want to just waste them on that Thor. He knows the Hydras are going to win that fight in the long run. Is it possible for Impact to seesaw this game back? I think he actually could. There's not that much back at home for TY right now. And Ling Hydra Bane can absolutely push into an area. I mean, keep in mind, the Thors and the tanks are killed, so he's going to have to remake all those. Hellions are not going to be great against, you know, especially Hydra Bane here if you have enough of it.
Flame Hellions being surrounded by Lings right now. Hydra's going to push him back. You know, I am in love with this particular game that we're watching.
It's so cool.
It's so neat. And here's the thing and why I think it's so neat, right? Because, again, going for the Mutas against the mass BC play into mech, like, this looked very close. Like, it could have gone either way, right? And, I mean, maybe there's still some shot here for TY. But...
No, I think this is actually the beginning of the end here. I think that Impact is going to stabilize and just start to push through here. That CC is going to go down, right? He's got that targeted here.
Yeah, I think he's going to lose that CC, but he's backing up. I don't think you can kill him right now. Like, I think TY lives from here, but obviously not in great position. He's actually coming down the ramp, getting a little bit aggro on top.
How much is actually
maybe not
TY's natural here? I mean, mineral-wise, I think he should be pretty sparse, right?
Yeah, he should be getting pretty low.
Okay, so he has taken this third base over here.
Okay, but I want to get back to just for a minute about this. Okay, so this type of play that we're seeing from Impact, it doesn't look perfect and it doesn't look optimal, but a lot of times when you're trying to find a new counter to something that's more tactical and positional,
Yeah.
a lot of the games will look really dirty until you really know what you're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's something about the weird mutas, and then, you know, jumping around your tech a little bit, using lots of Ling Bane, keeping pressure on, flying the mutas around, keeping him busy.
Yeah.
Getting into a huge drone count, getting into Hydras. There's something about that kind of resonates with me where I'm like, oh, this seems like something that needs to be explored more. Do you know what I mean?
Well, this game is so unusual in that it just did not play out at all like a lot of the other TVZs we see. I know that battle cruisers have been kind of a new concept, you know, popping around the map and trying to punish the Zerg, but this is very, very different, and the Zerg's reaction to that. You know, this was, again, guys, a game that started out with quick 3 command center into battlecruiser and Hellbat push, into Zerg countering with mass Ling and Muta.
Yeah. I just saw a Hellbat kill 29 Lings on its own. But, you know, very, very different game that we're watching here now. TY he's crawling back into it. Impact's on 5 bases. A lot of siege tanks being added in, so this might be a situation where Impact wants to consider switching up his tech once again. Obviously not back into mutas, though.
Yeah, massive amount more Lings trying to come in here. It appears like Impact's going to try to set up for another attack. We have a lot more Lings being made, a lot more Banes. Now, this is sort of a narrow area. There's a lot of splash damage that you're going to have to eat before you can even get up into this spot.
Yeah.
CC's like floated over the tanks.
This
so
is,
you can't click on them.
I don't think that this is breakable at all.
Okay, well, let's find out. I think you might be right, Artosis.
Yeah, I feel like this is, like, let's see. I mean, he killed like a Thor.
And the square shape goes in the circle hole.
Yeah.
All right, well, if there was a moment that Impact could throw there, that was it. I mean,
well, that wasn't putting the square through the circle hole. That was putting the square into a wood chipper.
Yeah.
And your opponent owns a mulch company and thanks you for it.
I mean, that was just as a basic concept. I mean, you never want to have a cluster of units that can die fairly quickly, like Hydras, against a bunch of splash damage in that space, especially because, you know, the tanks fire so much earlier than the Hydras, so that just went absolutely horribly. I think Impact is
the standing army that Impact had right before that was really reasonable, right? I feel like he could have sat back and just, like, expanded, gotten his tech completely up, get into that hive.
He could have tried to go for a Nidus or something and pop that out.
That's actually, you know what? I think you're right. I think the Nidus would have been a fantastic play. You're poking the front, and then you suddenly Nidus into the main base, and that's tough.
I think with that attack back there, he really played into the mech player's hands, you know?
Yeah, and this is a lower supply game later on, so you're spread out, but you don't have the same amount of units. You don't have the same defensive infrastructure either. If you didn't get your economy hurdle game, you might have a few turrets up, you might have a Viking patrolling, things like that, but in a game like this, it's so, you know, so I don't want to say sloppy, but scrappy.
Sure.
The Nidus could have been a really good play, I think you're right.
Well, we've got 12 Swarm Hosts coming.
Huh. I like Swarm Host, but is this a little bit late to make that work?
Well, especially if he's going to trade his army into this like this, because then there's going to be nothing to actually back up the Swarm Host. So I think we saw Impact play, I think, an A-class game early on, but he kind of flubbed it as it went further and further along here as we're getting close to 20 minutes.
Yeah. This is getting so close. Like, the Swarm Hosts are going to need to get some magic done to be able to hold on right here.
Not the best angle in the world.
No.
Okay, let's see if he can actually do enough damage with these locusts here. Hellbats are...
He targets correctly on the tanks, maybe? He just kind of dives them in.
Yeah, no, they completely owned.
That was never going to work.
GG.
Okay.
TY did it.
This was an incredibly interesting game. From TY's just really, really greedy play into Impact's, you know, high aggression, and the Mutalisk thing I'm fascinated with, and I would like to see it refined a bit more, because we've seen that Mutalisk play against this type of build twice from Scarlet and Impact, and everyone's saying it's bad, and we did see both the games lose, but I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're forcing the BCs to stay back a bit. They don't truly have good anti-air. They're kind of forced into making some Thors.
And they're not that fast.
That kind of opens things up for you. Like if you're making Thors, you're not really attacking. I don't know. Interesting, anyways.
Well, it's really cool to see TY pull that off. Again, I think a big part of that loss was Impact just running into those tanks at that third base.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're a mech player, you're trying to get ready for your eventual push because you know you can't be killed in that moment. And so you know what you need to do is just keep macroing, keep powering up, and get ready for that attack. So when you see them attacking at you and your tanks kill everything, you go, oh, okay, well, I guess it doesn't matter what happens from here.
Team LP, Impact. Splice, TY.
Yeah, so obviously we're not going to see something like that from TY again in this series. This is a smaller map as well, not really as suited for it as Acropolis would be.
More TY support here in the audience.
What are you thinking in a more normal game? Because let's not forget the type of advantage TY had going insta-3 commands and into BC and getting away with it all.
Well, I mean, part of this is also that, we were talking earlier that Impact, he likes to do a lot more decisive stuff, so it was kind of an unusual game on both sides.
Yeah.
I guess in a more normal game, we're going to see Impact try to pull something off early, and I would imagine TY holds it. I mean, he's got to be feeling good after that win, but let's be frank here. Neither of those two players are playing the cleanest games of their careers.
Yeah, it cut down and dirty. Some of that counterattacking allowed Impact to kind of stabilize the game and get back into it.
What about you?
Well, I think that TY is going to do completely fine in a regular game too. Like I favor him. He's like one of the players I always say is going to win.
Yeah, it's like me with SOS.
It used to be Rogue. I don't do it as much with Rogue, but I don't think I've ever stopped with TY.
I'm really curious.
I even called that finals against Mario that he should have won but lost. I'm still counting that for him. I was right about that. That was a stupid hold.
By the way, I'm very curious to see how TY Mario would look here today.
Oh my God.
Because I do feel like that's where TY is going to be at a big disadvantage. Mario being super active,
but
super hungry to come back, and TY casting and training.
ZvT is almost the weak part of Mario. That's what he's eliminated on against Innovation. Obviously, Innovation's in really good form right now. Where TY, we're not 100% sure how that's going. I've always favored TY's TVT over everyone, so I think that he plays a brilliant TVT.
I found a lot of his micro decisions, like little decisions in the middle of the game, especially, just to be so interesting. He's really thought out everything. Like, he sees the game from the opponent's race's perspective.
Yeah,
is one way to describe it. He sees the problems. A lot of times players will only see the problems that their race has. I think that's almost all players, to be honest. But he really seems to know the loopholes and the problems and the burdens and all the exploits that the other race has, and knows how to play either into that or around that.
Well, he's definitely one of the more veteran players, and he's been a pro since he was a little kid, literally. He made like records when he was, drafted into the Kespa scene as a pro gamer.
Yeah.
And, when you're trained for that long with that caliber of player, and you've played for this long at this type of level, I guess that type of thing should come naturally, right?
Right.
So Cloak Banshee on the way.
So this is TY playing a much more textbook TVZ here. All right, here come those Hellions now into the Ling block. Can he actually catch it? Well, there's no drones killed just yet, but hold on. They're very... Oh! Ouch. One more shot. One more shot.
9 drones and some Lings.
Wow. So
really good.
Paid for themselves and more.
Yeah.
With that initial hit. And that is a crippling blow there for Impact.
Yeah, I guess his map control goes away, but I would say that was a reasonable situation for him. Banshee's going to be coming out next. Ling's trying to get a bit of harass done.
Not bad,
It's
but
kind
I
of
don't
annoying,
think
isn't it?
It's not going to do that much, I don't think. It looks like he's going to get an SCV here or there, but
They scared that mule to death. They barely even touched him. He died.
now the Banshee cloak, very close to finishing here. We have that Banshee inbound, right?
He already has a Banshee. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
where
headed
is it?
towards the
Oh,
third.
I see. It's at the bottom right. I didn't see the red blip for a second.
Pretty sure that's it.
So that Banshee's going to come in there now. We haven't gotten a shot of it just yet, but let's see how many kills it can actually get. There's the cloak. Already ate a little bit of damage. Got to be careful here.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many kills it's going to get.
Might only get...
I think he wants to send it home, to be honest.
What?
Just barely doing this. My God.
Yeah. Well,
Overseer is on the way.
yeah, this is a little bit dicey to stay here for too long. Jeez.
All right. Wow, perfect
Craziest little
pullback
micro
time.
fight.
See that perfect pullback time? He gets it out just before the Overseer can help him to eliminate it.
Really good game sense here by TY.
Yeah.
Now we have a small push coming out. Looks like he wants to push through the bottom. He's walled himself off.
Like rotor stasis.
Oh my God. Oh my. Okay. Thank
Yeah.
God he saw that.
Looks
There's
like
a possibility that could have gone right around those SCVs. Counterattack shouldn't do much of anything with the wall in set up there.
But this attack definitely could. He's trying to push his creep up there, but there's a place to put your tanks down that really covers everything. This is a pretty popular move nowadays.
Yeah.
We've been seeing it quite a bit this year on any map that has a position like this.
This is tailored for a map exactly like this.
And his queens are almost in exactly the right spot, but he doesn't have enough units with it to actually hold this off.
Oh.
If he had all of his units up here right now, maybe he'd be able to stop this before they get in position, but he's got to break it now.
And this is beautiful usage of the geysers here. It's a makeshift wall right over here. So look at how much has to be spent just to get into this area. Now it looks like eventually the Zerg's going to hold this off, but not before a lot of units were spent to try to take that out. But, you know, you look at the big picture here, Impact did hold off both the push and, you know, the Banshees didn't really kill that much.
No, this turned out to be a really fantastic hold, and interesting choice by TY. I think he thought he was going to get into position a little bit quicker and hold that more efficiently, because if he had known how that was going to go, I feel like he brings the Banshees with it, and then he clears it much more easily. He actually still has a little bit of forces there.
I gotta say, man, Impact with just stellar control here in this game.
He's doing well.
He's really, really holding his own right now. And so we're about to have the third base acquired over here.
Yeah, Mech is, of course, the choice that we're watching. We'll see how Impact wants to play against. This is a very different mech from last game, of course.
Right, and this is a cool trend we've seen in TVZ where the players will open up with a little bit of bio and then just shift right into mech. Really keeping the Zerg guessing as far as what kind of game is going to come out here. Now with Hyperflight Rotors about to finish here, this is going to be a lot more of a headache of trying to stay safe and defend everything here for the Zerg.
Yeah. Well, let's see what he does with the Banshees. You know, Hyperflight Rotors makes them so fast.
Yeah.
We were joking this morning. Like, if you doubled the speed of Speed Banshees, would they be worse because you can't micro them?
That's funny.
Yeah. Anyways, the Hellbats, I mean, they're clearing a lot of Lings, not getting that much drone damage done, though.
No. Nice angling here, though. So we have
Banshees on the prowl.
continuing to come.
Oh my God.
It's so crazy how much will just get killed if they're even close to that. And so this is, I love that gooping to that. So this whole approach here is pretty cool. You're basically constantly abusing the Zerg. And I like when he tried to stuff the Hellbats over there into that mineral patch area.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you have to not only make sure the units that are not supposed to be there get the hell out quickly, but also you need to get defense over here. Because, for instance, look at this. The Banshees can actually just target that down.
Yeah.
Even a structure this big. And it's like, yeah, I mean, if you're not really, really fast, like, they will almost always get an insane amount of damage.
Well, they keep the Zerg so busy in this situation. They're just so nice. Like, you macro up behind this, and by the time they hold these off, can they break you? Probably not.
I love these Hellions coming in here.
Just brutal.
I feel like we're going to, over time here, possibly see Impact just fall off. It's like the wheels are coming off of the bus here. I mean, look at this. He's gonna get the hatchery down here, and he can rotate wherever he wants, too. I mean, he can literally push back into the direction he came from there and start to do more damage elsewhere.
GG.
And that's it. GG. TY